Hello. For today's multi-gen service, we will be comparing the views of those who came of age in different generations than those of us who have came of age much more recently. Okay? All right. For now, we will have MC Arik read out the question, and then one of our wise elders, raise your hands, wise elders, say hello to them, would bestow us with their knowledge, followed by a youth response to the same question.
The first question is, are internet friends real friends? And we'll have Sarah Davis answer it, and then I'll answer it.
Are internet friends real friends? That's an interesting question for someone who didn't own a cell phone until the 21st century and didn't own a computer until well after college. I took typing in high school. But I'm going to share 3 quick stories that give you some idea of my response. The first is a classic love story, a la online dating, which is how I met my husband in December of 2000. He contacted me through Match.com, and we wrote long emails back and forth for nearly a month before speaking on the phone and finally meeting in person. It was a great way to meet someone compatible because rather than starting with looks or attraction, we started with correspondence and conversation. By the time we met for our first day, I already knew I really liked this guy as a person. The second story has to do with coming across my first husband on LinkedIn and reconnecting after 20-some years. We didn't have many conversations, but we had closure. It was a brutal divorce, I suppose they all are. I credit the internet for the sense of peace I now enjoy on that topic. That was a lovely experience. And the final story involves a grade school friend who found me recently on Facebook. She still had a small porcelain trinket box, which I had given her the money to buy, on a field trip we took to a local historical mansion when we attended elementary school together. This was in the early 70s. Apparently, she had always remembered that kindness I had done her, and the container, she still has it, and it holds the ashes of a child who died shortly after birth. She and her husband have 3 beautiful grown children, just so you don't think the story is a total tragedy. But thanks to the internet, we found each other again, and she's coming for a visit from Minnesota. We've already talked on the phone, and we have lots in common, not the least of which is our liberal politics and religious beliefs. As a matter of fact, at my suggestion, she is planning to check out their nearby UU church because she misses belonging to a religious community, having left the traditional church some time back. Do I think the internet is a positive tool for relationships and intimacy? Absolutely. Can it also be used to avoid real intimacy and to present a false self that can be used to con or mislead? Sure it can. It's only as honest and authentic as the person using it. I don't have any relationships that are confined exclusively to cyberspace. I imagine that can work for some folks, but from my generation, which is either the tail end of the baby boomers or the bleeding edge of the Gen Xers, depending on whose definition you go by, we look for face-to-face contact and interaction in the real world in order to feel that a relationship lives and breathes. So, are internet friends real friends? For me, absolutely.
Well, my response is going to seem really bad. But I also think that internet friends can be real friends because you can, because like real friends, you become friends over shared experiences and common interests, except that you're just doing it over the internet. And I actually have a lot of friends who just primarily talk over the internet and also through real life. So it isn't that much different for them to have just a friend primarily over the internet. And with the next question we have, if you can make something happen in the future, what would it be and why would you do this? And we have Becca and Asher answering the questions.
First off, I did not have a paper like her, so bear with me, that was awesome. Second of all, this was a loaded question, and I had a very hard time with it, because if I could change one thing, and there's so many things that I believe we could change and do such good, so I had to really think. And I kind of thought about my belief in the interconnectivity of all of us, and what would help that the most, and really it's our Earth. It sustains us. It literally can give us everything that we need if we treat it the right way, if we give it what it needs. So I guess if I could see one thing in the future, it would be everything being energy efficient. Our vehicles, anything that we use, everyone recycling, solar panels, all of our energy coming from what we have. We don't have to create it. We've got it. And that is what I envision for my children, and breaking down this barrier of religion or science when it doesn't have to be religion or science. You can have faith and believe in science. It's not that crazy. So just imagining that in my future for my children is amazing to me, because right now the shape that things are in, it's terrifying for how long we can keep things healthy, which filters down to us and our health as well.
Hey guys. So Becca, I really loved that answer, because that's basically what I said. So, if there was one thing that I could change in the future, it would have to be to end global warming. My entire family is extremely environmentally friendly, always going on hikes. Did you recycle that? Grab it out of the trash can, throw it in the recycling bin, don't do that again. And so that's like something I've been taught to do since I could speak. You know, taking care of the environment and living on a planet where, you know, the temperature is getting hotter every year. You know, Leonardo DiCaprio's going around the world saying, everyone, the global warming is serious. It's really scary because I have a lot of time to live on this planet. So if there was one thing that I could definitely change, it would be to end global warming. So my kids and my grandkids could live.
For the next question, we have, how has the internet affected your sense of what is moral in the world? With Bobby Schilling and Athena answering the question.
My basic code of morality formed early in life through my family and living in a small town. Experiences such as college, reading, and travel all contributed to the evolution. Like yeast and bread dough, the internet has expanded my sense of what is moral in the world. Never before has humanity been exposed to such a wide range and volume of information and opinions. Through Facebook and YouTube, I come in closer contact with the life experiences of a more diverse population than I ever thought possible. Although some opinions expressed in these public forums anger or disgust me, they can be a catalyst for more positive thoughts or actions, and I choose to focus on the more positive aspects. Empathy increases as we are faced with acknowledging the plight of so many. Excuse me, I get nervous. You're not all first graders. I used to teach first grade, so. Empathy increases as we are faced with acknowledging the plight of many less fortunate. Through the internet, we can donate to worthy causes, sign petitions for social action, and research to gain insight on topics. I have to admit, I dragged my feet on getting a smartphone, and I got one about a year or so ago, and it's like bonded to me now, you know, I'm constantly looking up things. So thus we can strengthen our ties to all humanity.
So, like Bobby said, my sense of morality was mostly formed by my family and people around me before I was introduced to the deep dark hole that is the internet. So, ever since that introduction, the internet hasn't really affected my sense of personal sense of morality very much. I'm very sure that even at the ripe old age of 16, having seen the entire world, knowing everything there is to know out there, my core beliefs are already pretty well set, and they're not going to change much from going on to the future. So while those beliefs are grossly different from what I thought when I was a 6-year-old, lying is wrong, don't ever do that, ever, seriously. I now know that there are certain circumstances where, maybe lying isn't such a bad thing if someone is, deathly afraid that they're going to lose their house, but you know that maybe telling them it's going to be all right when you're not really sure it is, that will help them more than going, yes, you are definitely going to be out in the street next Wednesday. So what the internet has done is it has introduced me to other moralities and the idea that what I believe is right and wrong is not what everyone else in the world believes is right and wrong. And that discovery has forced me to change the way I look at the world. It showed me that not everyone is a shining pinnacle of goodness, and it also showed me that there are people out there who think that I am the scum of the earth just because I don't believe the same morals as they do. So, knowing that those people are out there certainly hasn't changed the way I think. As a matter of fact, it's made me more stubborn in what I believe and the fact that I am right and they are wrong. So, knowing that my right isn't the only right has shown me that I have to be more willing and able to stand behind my right when others are going to challenge it.
This next question is finding happiness becoming easier or more difficult over time, and why do you think so? With Gail Phillips and Asher answering the question.
Good morning. This is a wonderful idea for a service. Gosh, this is fun. This question is finding happiness becoming easier or more difficult over time, and why do you think so? It sounded easy at first, and then I sat down and thought about it, and I spent 2 hours just sitting and mulling it over and writing down my thoughts. And it's going to be a fellowship circle topic. I think it'll be a good one. For me, finding happiness, as I define it, and that was something, how do you define happiness, is definitely becoming easier as I journey on my life's path, personally. I believe that's because I have learned more about myself and now have a better idea of what makes me happy or content. I do enjoy learning new things, challenging myself, and sometimes I discover I really like something I'd never considered before, and I add that to my list of what brings me joy. But mostly, I've come to believe that finding happiness and contentment in my life is more of a spiritual quest, and that learning to be accepting of yourself and grateful for what you have brings you the greatest joy. I recall I used to think, years ago, that maybe having a certain job would make me happy or going on a wonderful vacation to Europe would be magically transforming, but not so. The one thing I have learned in my life is that there is a balance I must accept. Nothing stays blissful or terrible forever. And I can choose happiness to embrace the positive and be grateful every day. It is my choice.
I'm back. So, this question was really tough for me because obviously I probably have about the least amount of experience of my life compared to everyone else in this room who has 20 times the stories as me. But I can't say that I can make this opinion off of what I've gone through, but I definitely understand it. So I can see if, for example, if you've lived your entire life, maybe you've gone through war, you've been homeless for most of your life, it could be hard for you to find the happiness in things compared to someone who's lived their entire life with a family that loves them, they can put food on the table, they have a job that pays good money. But also, I really just think it depends on who you are as a person. So yeah, you may have had a best friend die in war, but maybe that just makes you more happy that you're alive every day and you're thankful for your life. And maybe you might have a good job in a family that loves you, but maybe you just don't respect that enough, and that makes you want more. And you're not happy because, oh, I could have this Lamborghini. Life isn't good enough because you have those privileges. So basically what I'm trying to say is, I think it really depends on the person and not your experiences. I think it depends on how you see life instead of what life you've been given.
This next question is, what do you see as your role in the interdependent web of which we are all a part of? And answering this question is Asher's dad and Athena.
I'm Asher's dad. And I'm going to have a throwdown with Athena. I didn't prepare anything, and I'm a very prepared person, so every day is super structured, everything I do. But my wife, Rosalie, who you all know, is Asher's mom. She's like, aren't you going to write anything down? And I was like, no. I'm also a professor, so I learned to talk to a lot of people. And this question is sort of our interdependence. And I could take it two different ways, and I'm going to try to do that. One, we have this focus of the internet, and what does the internet offer us? And as a professor, I speak for the underdogs, and those are insects and reptiles and amphibians. Now, I work with a bunch of biologists, and we have almost 1,000 students that are biology focused, and probably 20 of them like reptiles and amphibians or insects. So, which is very frustrating to me, but so my job is to sort of show that interdependence. And I do that by giving them experiences. So if I jump back to the internet has so much available. And for reptiles and amphibians, there's a great website. It's the Virginia Herpetological Society, and you can discover every species of reptile and amphibian found in Virginia. You can also find where they are found. So you can go to what is happening in Hampton or Newport News and all the species, when they were found, whereabouts they were found. So that's fantastic. And so in that aspect, that internet is a wonderful thing, but that is not experience. And the experience in my role as the interconnectedness, we are working towards or continuing our green sanctuary desires, and we talk about that a lot in this fellowship of what we do. I don't think it's enough, personally, but that's me. I think if we're going to be a green sanctuary, we have to be out there and live it. And like Asher said, don't put that in the trash can, take that out, sort of thing. And those are the simple things. But so I teach students every single year, and I hope I make a difference. And so that's my role, is to make a difference in the interconnectedness. And I think I'm maybe successful. Unfortunately, Andrew gives a sermon. Some people say, great job, Andrew. And then we leave. Or Nikki plays the piano today. Beautiful job, Nikki. Thank you very much. I may not have told him that, but I get to right now. So, so that's one of those things. But we don't really know what kind of impact we have unless somebody comes back. And so I got 3 quick stories to tell you. I've been teaching herpetology forever. 7 years ago, I had a student named John, and the first half of the semester is learning about the organisms, and the second half is getting out in the field and experiencing those organisms. And y'all know what spring peepers are? They're little frogs. So the first frogs that come out, and the very first frogs you're going to hear, because the reptiles and amphibians are down for the winter, and then they come back up when the weather turns nice like this, and the spring peepers start calling right around March 1st. And my former student would email me, this is the internet part, every single time the spring peepers came out. It's like, okay, the spring peepers are out. It's like, I look forward to John sending me that email every year, because, and I feel like, okay, John gets it. He got what I wanted him to get out of sort of bringing my passion for something and then transferring that. Another story was I had a student, his name was Derek, and Derek was an atypical field biologist. So he dressed in really nice clothes, had a really nice car, unlike most field biologists, always wearing grubbies, and because we're going to get out there and get dirty. And he went to a very famous spring break location, which is, what state? Florida. And he went to Florida, and he came back, and I said, well, how was your trip? And he said, well, honestly, I'd rather be sampling insects. And that, so if you can beat Florida for spring break, then you're doing a pretty good job out there. And the last story was just this last semester. I had a student named Bailey who's graduating in 2 weeks. And Bailey came into my office, but I was talking to another student, so she left, and then she came back, and she just said, I wanted to tell you I went to Yellowstone National Park over spring break, which was just a couple weeks ago for us, and I found a stonefly. Now you're all, okay, look, no response. Well, what is a stonefly? Well, Astronathena's program mayflies are an aquatic insect, and stoneflies are also aquatic. They live underwater until they become an adult, and then they fly and they mate, and then the whole cycle starts over again. So, but we don't see a lot of stoneflies here in Newport News. You got to go up into the mountains, and so we taught about stoneflies in class, and it was important enough for her to go and actually see those, and then come back and tell me. So I can only hope that sorry, this is taking way too long in 2 minutes. My impact on students is just that, to take the experience that we don't get from the internet, we can get knowledge from the internet, but take that experience and then transfer it, and I hope I can continue to do that for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Don't worry, we're used to teachers going over the time limit. So, before I can say what my role in the interdependent web is, I have to be able to define the interdependent web to myself and then decide how I, as a teenager, fit into that idea. So, to me, the interdependent web is the interactions between individuals and their environment and how those interactions change it. By that definition, my role in the web would be to keep it going, to keep causing those interactions to happen, and to keep making those changes in the web as it weaves itself off into infinity. However, that being said, I don't really feel like that's my role yet. I feel like that will be my role someday, eventually, but not today, not tomorrow, and not next week either. So, right now, my role is to cultivate the skills and knowledge that I will need to understand the web and how it works, so that when it is my time to step out and to change it, I'm not damaging what has already been made, and I'm only improving it and making it a better web than when it was when I entered it. My role is to stand by and to observe, not to go out and to change. That is for a later date, but for now, I will be content to live and learn so that when my time comes, I will be able to bear my new role with pride. As we take a moment to reflect on those thoughts expressed here today, remember that we all play a role in the interdependent web.
No matter how large
or small.
Each of us has a contribution to make, and it is our duty to both ourselves and the web to make our own contribution while also knowing when to let others make their contributions as well.
we all have something to say, and we each need the opportunity to say it.
As a community, our goal is to create an environment where all our voices can be heard, regardless of differences, because it is our difference that makes us strong.
When we bring our differences, different perspectives and voices together, we can express ourselves in new ways and bring new threads to the web in places where it may have grown frayed and tattered.
I have a voice.
I have a voice.
I have a voice.
Individually, we have power, but together, we can change the world.